Hay unos micrófonos por si alguien quiere hacer algunas preguntas. Luis entiende español, pero estoy yo para traducir algunas cosas. Entonces,
Sí.
ponen las manos, nos dices, te pones de pie, nos dices quién eres y haces tu pregunta.
Depende de...
Hola. Primero, hola, mi nombre es Julián Cisterna, soy argentino pero vivo aquí. Y vengo invitado por Andes Central. Mi consulta no tiene nada que ver con lo que mostraron, pero sí me interesa porque estuve un año en Colorado y me interesa saber cómo ustedes educan y cuidan el turismo en base a los incendios, que son como tal vez algún tips que nos puedas dar.
How you protect and educate outdoor activities in relation with fires.
Anybody seen the pictures of California lately? Yeah. You know, it's been a really interesting time in the United States because I think conservation and stewardship has pushed us towards one very deep side of limited energy development, limited logging development, and it's put us in this place where we have not been as effective with fire mitigation. So for the first time in the US in 25 years, you're starting to see more logging, selective logging development in certain regions to help protect against fires. If you saw that in that video for Leave No Trace, Be Careful with Fire, that's literally where the whole conversation started about why we should do the video. That people really need to understand that relationship with fire. And if every summer in the United States you watch wildfires, it is either Colorado or California. So in Colorado, we say all the time, it's not a question of if parts of our state are going to burn, like just what happened in California. It's just a matter of when. So re-engaging with the logging industry has actually been something new that we haven't seen for 20 years, that we're slowly starting to do more and more. Good question.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Marcela Boqueto, trabajo en el área de medio ambiente de Anglo American y mi pregunta es si tú nos puedes contar experiencias de colaboración o convivencia entre la minería y la actividad outdoor, porque para nosotros Colorado también es una referencia en minería.
We try to bring together the energy industry and the outdoor industry 3 times a year to discuss not only development but conservation. I think the difference in the United States with fracking, which is a new development for us in our state, is that there can be energy development below all kinds of recreation. But the new thing that we're really excited about is there are certain mines that are closing in the next 5 to 7 years. And instead of just shutting it all down for reclamation, they're actually coming to us now because we've been talking for the past 3 years. Could we fill it in and put in a lake? Could we actually have rock climbing as a part of a quarry? Could we build a mountain biking trail system through some of the property where safety isn't a concern? So now they're trying to look at lands that would normally be closed as a possible recreational resource. So, you know, in the beginning, when we were sitting at the same table, they'd look at us, we'd look at them and go, I don't know why we're here. But the follow-up to that was, well, all the oil and gas engineers would say, I mountain bike too, I climb too, I camp, I believe in these things, so help us understand how we can help you. And the thing that most people don't know is that the oil and gas industry in Colorado, much like I'm sure Anglo-America here, puts a lot of money into conservation and stewardship, helps us help the rest of the state. So that's the way the conversation has gone. That's a great question.
Acá. Primero que todo, muchas gracias Luis por venir. Soy David Allendez, vengo de Vertical, del instituto. Tengo una consulta asociada justamente a lo que estamos haciendo en esta reunión, que tiene que ver con las dificultades que se enfrentaron al comienzo, cuál fue el relato con el que partieron. Y aparte de las dificultades, ¿a quiénes decidieron integrar en este proceso de negociación o de acuerdos? Y por favor, no quedarnos en los problemas, sino que cómo lo solucionaron también. en esta gran variedad de actores territoriales?
You found out when you started. Who did you invite to that conversation? And about how?
Yeah, okay. So when I started, this office was really an experiment. The state of Utah, right next to Colorado, had this office, and the governor from Utah and the governor from Colorado were actually at a dinner. And the governor from Utah was almost teasing my boss, saying, haha, Utah has this role, you don't, we're better. So the governor came back to Colorado and said, this is crazy, we have to have this office. So I had been friends with him on a couple of different instances. I was an elected official in a town called Eagle in Colorado, serving as a town councilman and getting ready to campaign for mayor when the governor called to do this role. And when I started, his only direction was, go take care of this really, really big economy. Make sure it doesn't get smaller, make it bigger. That was it. That was the only direction. So what I tried to focus on is finding the leadership for all of the different modalities of recreation. So I started asking across the state, who does everybody know when it comes to mountaineering? And in Chile, that would be, I'd call Rodrigo or Kiko and say, you guys have to be part of my advisory council. I did the same for rafting, boating, climbing, hiking, fishing, hunting, mountain biking, all of it, every modality of recreation, and I built an advisory council. And so the challenges that I ran into, in the United States, trail access is a very big problem. So the motos don't want to go where the mountain bikers go. They're not allowed on either trail. And they don't like sitting down and talking to each other. So the challenges that I faced were not only modalities of recreation talking, but then there was the tourism division for the state and the business development division for the state that looked at this as a governor's pet project. Like, why? I do that. I'm tourism. I do that. Or business development said, I recruit companies. I do that. And so those were some of the challenges early as well, but that's how we came up with the 4 pillars. Because what we said was, well, tourism and business development may do some of these things, but they don't focus in total on economic development, conservation and stewardship, education and workforce training, and public health. So we build what tourism sells, and we build what business development sells. So those are some of the challenges, and that's how we addressed it. Great question.
Hola, represento a la Municipalidad de Lobarnechea. Mi consulta va orientada bueno, aprovechando que tenemos a este gran aporte acá, preguntarle cuál sería su recomendación, cuál debería ser el rol del municipio para lograr esta visión de comuna aula.
Yeah, that's great. You know, I look at Santiago. It's 32 municipalities, right? 33. Sorry to the 33. 32? 52. Oh, 50. Okay, so that's perfect. So when I think of the state and I think of how many municipalities, imagine the process that I just explained. And so shift it to think about how you could do that here. Could you find representation from each of the municipalities, which it sounds like you're already trying to do, to come together and have this conversation? But you have to have a municipality that will lead the conversation. And I would assume, because all of you are here, having this conversation in this municipality, that is your opportunity. I think that would be the best way to start from my understanding here, and then have some expectations for who comes to the table from those other municipalities. Don't just let them send a random representative. Explain some of the things that we've talked about today. Can you have someone that represents how you look at tourism, how you look at business development, how you look at public health, how you look at conservation and stewardship? Because if you get those people together and put some structure to it, that would be an opportunity I think would be pretty exciting. Great question.
Hola, my name is Barbara Saavedra and I work in biodiversity conservation. And I'm wondering if how this outdoor industry get involved in financing conservation, because it needs resources, permanent resources. And unlike Colorado, where most of the land is, you have a lot of public lands and public parks. In Chile, in this region, at least we don't have that model. If you have a model like land trust or something like that, do you consider financing
Do you have a lottery here, loteria?
We do.
You do? Okay. So in Colorado, about 7 years ago, Ken Salazar, who was a former Secretary of the Interior and was our state's Attorney General, came up with this unique concept where he took, it's now written into our state's constitution that a portion of lottery proceeds must go to conservation and stewardship. It's called Colorado the Beautiful. It's about $48 million annually a year, and that's how we pay for our infrastructure. And so we tell everybody that when you buy a lottery ticket, this portion of the lottery ticket goes into Colorado the Beautiful, because we did. We had the exact same question. Grants only go so far, private spending only goes so far. How will you cover the gap? And for our state, that's where we landed. And believe me, it is a difficult conversation every year with our legislator. They look at that almost $50 million and say, I could spend that on schools, I could spend that on education, I could spend that on roads. What's so important about a trail? What's so important about a park? And so having this larger value proposition dialogue about why some of these things are why people move companies here. These things are why people move here. It's why they're healthier, it's why they're happier. So we've had to build the case to keep it, but having it written into our Constitution makes it very difficult for somebody to access that money. So that's how we do it in Colorado.
Vamos a hacer un par de preguntas más.
Ok. Hola, mi nombre es Alfonso Campos, de Santuario del Plomo. Estamos aquí a media hora de Santiago. Y la pregunta es, estando al lado de una ciudad de 8 millones de habitantes, en un ecosistema que es frágil, que necesita protección, ¿cómo se establece el equilibrio entre protección y apertura a las actividades outdoor? ¿Exceso de protección que deja a mucha gente afuera o apertura total que presiona un sistema delicado?
It was about fracking and access.
Just by this outlet you thought things. How do you control this? Because if you open entirely, maybe people will just crash it.
Yeah.
And then if you select them, you have a minority going on that already completely.
Yeah. So, you know, for us, really where we started with that question, we were the same way. People are moving to Colorado at a rate that we've never seen before. And when they're surveyed, why are you moving to the state? They're coming because of all the things that I've shown you. They want to go ride their bikes and get on the water and go play in the mountains and do all these things. And I used to say, you can't hang a closed for business sign on the border of your city or your state. But ironically enough, in our state, a practical joker went to our border in the north and the south and hung a no vacancy sign under the Welcome to Colorado sign on the highway. So I guess you can hang a closed for business sign on your state. The way we've tried to identify it and address it is, if you want to make it about access for all and have fair and equitable access, permitting or fees, or you can go on Tuesday and Thursday but not on Monday and Wednesday, studies have shown that it doesn't work. The biggest thing that we were worried about is that everyone had the ethic that we wanted them to have. Because when you think about it, there's a difference between 100 people going on a trail with no wilderness ethic, throwing things, putting out cigarettes, potentially starting fires, leaving trash behind, versus leave no trace ethics, where at least those 100 people that have that ethic look at that property in a different way. So where we tried to focus was education, and we're starting to see significant changes in how people recreate and how they treat trash and the sustainability question. So we're going to stay focused on education right now, because we realize we can't stop people coming, but when they're coming, we just want them to know what we expect of them. We have an expectation, and we'll see where it goes from there. Thank you.
La última pregunta.
Hi, my name is Pablo. I wanted to ask you about your approach when you're dealing with privately owned land and when you're dealing with public land, because there are two different situations. And most of the time, I feel like landowners are a little bit left behind, and most of the resources tend to go to NGOs or service providers.
That's a great question, and I'll use a really fun example because this is really turned into a model for the rest of the United States. We do have a lot of private landowners and ranch landowners in Colorado, and some will restrict access or don't want to be a part of the conversation. Some would love to be a part of the conversation, but especially in the United States, they worry about the liability of access. Well, if I let you build a trail through here, you fall off your bike and die, are you going to come back and sue me? But I will say the unique model for what's possible is coming out of a very little known place called Bentonville, Arkansas. But some of you may have heard about the town Bentonville in the state of Arkansas because that's where Walmart is from, and the Walton family. And so Walmart had this unique problem where they couldn't recruit executives to move to Bentonville. If you think of the smallest possible town with the least amount of resources other than this gigantic company, that's what Bentonville is. Surrounded by private ranch lands, and all private, no public land anywhere around that town. And so they would try to recruit executives to town and nobody wanted to go. Doctors, lawyers, executives for Walmart. And so Walmart just started showing up and saying, how much can I pay you to move? And so now you had people moving to town that were being paid twice as much as what they should have been. They would buy a modest home, tear it down, buy two modest homes, tear them down, build a gigantic house, make everybody's property taxes around them go crazy, and then they'd leave in a couple of years because they were just bored in town. So Stuart Walton, one of the Walton children, came up with this idea if he could just create a value proposition connecting to the outdoors around town, maybe that was enough to bring people and recruit people here. So he literally started knocking on doors of all the ranch owners around Bentonville saying, listen, would you be interested in a public-private partnership where we lease this section of your land way in the back to put a trail through? And he bit by bit crafted this entire trail ecosystem for Bentonville that all came back down into town and created an ecosystem with access to their rivers and to their lakes for stand-up paddleboarding and paddling, rock climbing areas, same thing. And all of a sudden, he didn't have any more trouble recruiting executives to town. And the International Mountain Biking Association just hosted their global summit when they ordinarily do their summit in Switzerland, places all over the world. They went to Bentonville, Arkansas for their summit for the first time last year because of those public-private partnerships that were created. So you bring up an excellent point, and getting back to that earlier question, when I think of everybody that needs to be at the table for that conversation, consider the municipality, consider the resources that you need, and if there are private landowners that could be an integral part of crafting that infrastructure, they have to be at the table, because Bentonville is a great example of what's possible if you do that strategically. Thank you.
Ok, le damos las gracias una vez más a Luis. Y ahora entiendo que tenemos un cafecito afuera para un descanso. Nos encontramos en 20 minutos.